My name is Mindy Sauter. It says Donna, but I go by Mindy, so don't be confused. I am the legal advisor to the chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. I'm going to talk to you today about FERC enforcement and market monitoring practices. As Jeremy did, I have to give my disclaimer that I don't speak for the commission, the chairman, or any of the commissioners. These views are my own. We're going to first talk a little bit about FERC's jurisdiction. Jeremy touched on that a little bit, and U.S. wholesale energy markets, and then we're going to talk specifically about the Office of Enforcement and the 4 divisions of that office and what they do. This slide may be a little bit familiar to you. Jeremy used it also. I first want to talk a little bit about what is and what is not in the Commission's jurisdiction. Again, Jeremy spoke a little bit to that. I want to speak more specifically about the Commission has jurisdiction over what we call interstate or wholesale electric transmission, while the various states have jurisdiction over distribution level transmission, and this includes jurisdiction over generation. So the FERC does not make any decisions regarding what types of generation are used. The states make those decisions. Our role is to ensure open access and level playing fields for all different types of generation, including renewables. So there's 2 basic models for operation of the electric transmission system in the United States. About a third of the country, as you can see from the map, the colored portions, the uncolored portions, pardon me, the white portions are the more traditional vertically integrated model where the utilities in the region own the generation and the transmission and the distribution systems. About 2/3 of the electricity is in the colored regions is RTOs and ISOs, which Jeremy talked about a little bit. The RTOs and ISOs operate comprehensive competitive energy and ancillary services markets, including real-time markets, day-ahead markets, and some of them also operate forward capacity markets. As you heard from Jeremy, the markets are very complicated. So each of the ISOs includes market monitors that oversee the markets and monitor for and mitigate market power, market manipulation, tariff violations, or violations of FERC rules. When the market monitor suspects such behavior, the monitor may refer the matter to the Commission's Office of Enforcement for us to investigate further. The Office of Enforcement is organized into 4 divisions: the Energy Market Oversight, Investigations, Analytics and Surveillance, Audits, and Accounting. The employees in the various divisions cover a wide swath of types of job functions, including attorneys, economists, engineers, analysts, and accountants. The goals of the Office of Enforcement are to detect fraud and market manipulation, to detect anti-competitive conduct, ensure transparency in regulated markets, identify serious violations of reliability standards, and encourage a culture of compliance by the entities that we regulate. First, we'll talk about the Office of the Division of Market Oversight. The Office of Market Oversight monitors energy markets at a macro level. They analyze market fundamentals to look for market manipulation. They assess the effect that various market rules that the Commission has implemented, how they affect the energy markets, to see if there's something that needs to be revised. They try to understand all aspects of the market to identify risks. Jeremy talked a lot about risks. They do fuels market analysis to see how that impacts the functioning of the market. They also analyze electric markets. One of their main goals is to inform the commissioners. So they conduct various reports, studies, and generate reports and make presentations to the Commission. We also have a lot of forms that we require our utilities to fill out, so they monitor to make sure that the utilities have complied with all the forms requirements and various other data collection. They also do ex post analysis using data from those forms. This is probably hard to read. This is from the website. It just shows some of the types of reports that, that Market Oversight develops. This is an example of a report that was issued in May of this year. It was a forward-looking report analyzing expectations for how the markets would perform for the upcoming summer. They also perform post-event and other post-hoc analysis, such as analyzing system performance after extreme hot or cold weather events. And many of these types of reports are available on the FERC website if you are interested. Next is the Division of Investigations. We get information about potential needs for investigation from a variety of sources. The Division of Investigations may get referrals from the Surveillance Division, who perhaps is monitoring the market and sees something unusual, such that could potentially be manipulative behavior or bad record keeping, things like that. The ISO and RTO market monitors that I mentioned before are a large source of referrals to the Office of Investigation. They monitor all the complex markets. Then if they see anomalous behavior, they will investigate it themselves and then, if necessary, refer it to the Commission, Office of Enforcement for further investigation. In addition, the regulated entities themselves may determine that they did something wrong. They realize that they had not been keeping their records properly or that they had somehow violated a tariff or market rule, and they will report themselves to the Commission. We also have a hotline for parties that are affected, or perhaps one trading entity may think that another trading entity is doing something wrong or manipulating the market in some way, and they can call our hotline and inform the Office of Enforcement in that way. In addition, whistleblowers from inside the company also may raise flags of behavior that may be problematic, and other agencies also can raise concerns with us. So this is just some statistics on where various investigations have come from in the last few years. The investigative process at FERC includes a number of steps. I won't go through too many of them here, but it's a legal process. So one of the first steps is that we would contact the entity that's suspected of potential bad behavior and tell them that they need to retain records related to that potential behavior, so they can't destroy those records. We notify them that they are being investigated. We may do data requests, depositions, things like that with relevant people. We review emails, instant messages, et cetera, that relate to the alleged bad conduct. And then at some point, a lot of companies want to just settle the allegations, whether they believe them or not. So the Office of Enforcement will ask the commissioners for authority to enter into settlement negotiations. And if no settlement is forthcoming, then the next step would be for the commission to institute what's known as an order to show cause, which means that the company has to, that begins the the litigation process by which the company would be able to say why they did not violate or otherwise try to show that they were innocent of the alleged behavior. This is just some more statistics on the number of investigations that were opened and closed without a penalty or further action. We have I don't have any specific percentages, but a lot of the investigations that we open are closed without further action. This is some examples of recent settlements that we've entered into with parties that did not go to full litigation. Sometimes the settlements occur when litigation has started, but before it's finished. I believe that was the case with some of these, although I don't recall off the top of my head. This is another another link on our webpage that shows information regarding significant orders in federal district court papers related to matters that have proceeded to orders to show cause. And again, if you'd like further information, there's a lot of good information on our website. Penalty authority, we do have penalty authority. Congress enhanced our penalty authority in 2005, which followed the California energy crisis. Congress was frustrated that FERC did not have a lot of authority to go after Enron, so they passed additional, they gave us additional penalty authority. Originally, in 2005, the penalty authority was $1 million per day per violation. That gets increased annually to adjust for inflation. The current number is a little over $1.2 million per day per violation. We also adopted penalty guidelines in 2010, modeled on the US sentencing guidelines. The base penalty is adjusted for aggregating and mitigating factors, and those factors include the seriousness of the violation, the efforts that the party made to remedy the violation, whether senior management was involved in the decision that led up to whatever the behavior was, prior history, if the company has a history of not playing by the rules, compliance program. If you have a good compliance program in place, you get credit for that. Self-reporting, I mentioned before that was one way that we learn about violations. You get credit for self-reporting a violation. You get credit also for cooperating with FERC as we're investigating you, and if you accept responsibility for the behavior. The next division that I'd like to talk about is the Division of Analytics and Surveillance. I'm not going to read all the bullet points here, but that division provides a lot of oversight over what is going on in the markets and looks for trends and other activity. The Division of Analytics and Surveillance provided this lovely little chart of the surveillance process. The Department of Surveillance and Analytics, also known as DAS, they build out all kinds of screens using all kinds of data to look for known manipulative schemes. They know what the market rules are, so they look for violations of those rules, any kind of behavior that could constitute manipulation, or any statistical measures that may help identify market anomalies. And they share that information with the broader team and also with the broader Office of Enforcement. They work together, all the different divisions of the Office of Enforcement work together collaboratively with all the data that they have. This is an example of some of the screens that they've created for each of the ISOs and RTOs. Each year, the electric surveillance team runs and reviews 83 different reports, screens, and monthly, hourly, and intra-hourly sub-screens for over 37,000 hubs and pricing nodes within the 6 RTOs and ISOs. They also do natural gas surveillance. We also regulate natural gas, but gas is also an important input in the electric market in the United States. So they screen for anomalous trading activities at the various hubs within the United States. And this is a list of some of the screens that they run and how frequently they run them. The next division that I'd like to talk about is the Audits division. They primarily focus on compliance with the requirements from the tariffs and the commission rules. And all of those materials are published on the commission's docket, so other companies can look at the results of the audits and see if they also may have violated similar rules so that they can correct them themselves. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.